All right, ADHD entrepreneurs, you don't hate posting. You hate what posting feels like. Because if you're anything like me, every time you open Instagram to post, it's like strapping yourself to a ticking time bomb, right? One word wrong, one bad engagement day, one bad take, and then like boom, right? Emotional shrapnel everywhere. And the punchline here is no one tells you. It's not because you're flaky. It's not because you lack discipline. It's not because you don't know what to say. It's because your nervous system is tired of being publicly on display. So if posting content feels like diffusing a bomb every time you open Instagram, you're not crazy, you're not lazy, and you sure as hell aren't bad at consistency. You're just running a business inside a body that registers visibility as an actual survival threat. And you're trying to fix it with just post daily advice. That's handing a bulletproof vest to someone drowning and wondering why they're still sinking. So today's episode, we're going to uncover for you why visibility is so hard for you. Let's dive into it. Hey, welcome back to the ADHD CEO. He's here. And I am really excited to talk about this topic today because when we're thinking about like sharing our story online, we know that facts tell, stories sell, right? But as ADHD entrepreneurs, it's often really hard for us to share our story. And posting isn't the problem. Why? Hey, welcome back to the ADHD CEO. Alyece here. And today I'm really excited to do this new series in May. So now that we have fully embraced the ADHD CEO show, we're going to be talking a lot more about what this looks like showing up in your daily life. And something I've heard a lot of in my DMs since the rebrand is just how seen people feel, right? Because these are things that they don't talk about. We're often trained on social media to not talk about our failures or not talk about all the things that go wrong. Honestly, that's just doing a disservice to you and it's doing a disservice to your audience because sharing your full story is not only what will build connection, but it makes you feel alive in your business. And posting isn't the problem, right? It's the fact that our nervous system shuts down when you try to show up. So my goal for today is to really help you understand why that happens. And then, of course, as always, I am practical tactical. So I want to give you some tactical tips that you can put into your business every single day that will help this be easier for you. Because the fact of the matter is, you don't have to hustle harder. You don't have to post every day or be consistent to be successful. There's a lot of entrepreneurs that don't post regularly and they're super successful, right? And there's a lot of entrepreneurs out there that have teams that do that for them. So it makes it easier. But if you're not showing up at all, you're not making offers at all, you're definitely not going to make any sales because people aren't even going to be aware that you exist. Okay. So I want to start by telling you a little bit about what this looked like for me. All right. So I left my job June 2022, for those of you that don't know that. And I'll be honest, I had no fucking clue what I was doing. I kind of went into it with the idea of I was going to be a freelancer. So I was going to look on Fiverr, I get an odd job here and there. I knew I needed flexibility for my kids. I did not want to be glued to my computer 24/7, which is hilarious because that's actually what happened for quite a long time. But that's all I knew. And so I knew social media was a massive part of it. I did social media in corporate before I left, but for someone else, right? For something else. Selling myself, becoming a brand, I had no idea what that looked like, what that even meant. And so I'd sit down to write a post, and I start writing this caption out. And at that time, I would edit the caption, I'd rewrite the caption, I'd question my entire life purpose, honestly. And I would save it to my drafts and kind of just tell myself, I need a break. I'll circle back to this later. And there is no later. When your nervous system has already decided posting is unsafe or saying what you want to say is unsafe or being bold in your content is unsafe, it wasn't a strategy issue. It was self-protection, right? It was a self-protection response. It was my body's way of coding into safety before I even picked up the phone. And I did this for quite a long time. And I've shared on my podcast before, I've shared in my content before. I hired a mentor pretty quickly into my business because after about 60 days of sitting at my computer questioning what I did, fearful that I made the wrong choice. I knew that I didn't know enough. And I was watching YouTube videos into the night, trying to learn anything I could learn. But all of this terminology like lead magnet and funnels, I didn't know any of that. We didn't use that in the digital marketing that I did in corporate. So I was clueless. And I started one day, I remember building a website on WordPress. And oh my God, I am not a press girl, I'm gonna be honest. And I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like I got to find somebody that can tell me what to do. And so I hired a mentor pretty quickly. But the problem was the advice being given didn't work for me. And so I had to learn what did work for me, but it took me a long time to accept it. Okay. So I really want to dive into the post and delete confusion because the rare times that I did post something vulnerable, I was ready to like delete it 5 minutes later. Not because it wasn't good, not because it didn't land, but because my dopamine crashed so hard, my body felt like it needed to hide under a weighted blanket and apologize to the internet that I put my business out there. And I would notice after the fact that I was getting a lot more traction, a lot more comments, a lot more people relating to my vulnerable post. But what I didn't know how to do was be comfortable putting myself out there, but also talking about my business. And so a lot of times when I would share something vulnerable, it would be about my personal life, which is still important because from people they trust. They're more likely to buy or pay for something from a company or a CEO that they like and they can relate to. But I didn't know how to take vulnerability and turn it into sales. And so visibility to me at that time didn't feel empowering. It felt like exposure therapy, right? And there was like no therapist there. A bunch of people in the comments saying, oh my God, I struggle with that too. Or, oh my God, I can relate to this. But not anyone saying, hey, that's awesome. Let's work together. Here's my credit card. And so I figured out pretty quickly how to be more vulnerable, but I didn't know how to turn that into connection with customers. And so after a while, it was like it was working, but it wasn't in the right way. So I just was like, being vulnerable doesn't work. We got to go back to being authority and just posting what people are doing wrong and sharing about my business and sharing I can help them. And so I very quickly learned that vulnerability gave me visibility, but I also learned that I was scared of it because I was getting all of this attention to things I didn't want attention to. I wanted attention on my business. I wanted to make money. I needed to make money or I was going to have to go back to a job. And so that kind of led into what I would call like my avoidance story. All right. And it wasn't just the posting. I could answer 20 random comments like it was nothing, a GIF here, an emoji there. Oh my God, this is awesome. Thanks. Right. But one DM from a lead, my chest would get tight. My palms would sweat. I would sit there and stare at it like on the computer or the red bubble on my phone, depending on if I was working mobile that day. But my mind was racing through every possible way I would blow it. And it's not that I didn't know what to say. It was that my nervous system decided that being visible might mean be rejected. And my entire body would like registered that as an emergency. And fear of rejection is absolutely a real thing for ADHD people. It holds us back in a lot of ways in our life, in relationships, in career, in business, in parenting, so many ways. And I actually have an entire episode about this on my Secret podcast. So if you haven't already grabbed that, I'll make sure that it's in the show notes, or you can DM me Secret25 on IG and it'll automatically send you instant access. It's not a podcast you can search for. You have to get access from me. And I've had a couple people actually ask about that. And so not to get off track, but the reason it's on the Secret podcast and not my public show is because it is very vulnerable. It is very vulnerable. I walk you through a lot of my own personal struggles on that podcast in that mini series. I want it to feel intimate because it is me sharing a lot of real struggles from my life, not as a coach, but as a fellow ADHD entrepreneur. And so definitely get access to that if you haven't already, because I walk you through everything from like home life struggles to business struggles and so on. But back to the story here. So started showing up more vulnerable, got more visibility, got afraid of it because of the DMs I would get. Right. So I go back to, I'm just going to be I'm a sales chick. Right. So I'm going to do a bunch of lead gen posts, a bunch of authority posts, and I lost that personal connection for a while in my content. And that showed in my sales because people didn't know enough about me to want to spend money with me. They believed I was an authority, but did they trust me? And so after that fear of being seen and that survival threat was recognized, that was something I had to recognize. Okay. I had to have an identity shift. Once I was able to get over that, everything really just got so much easier because you're not struggling with posting. All right. You're struggling with feeling safe enough to stay visible. Because if you've spent your entire life masking, managing shrinking, explaining your brain to others to survive, of course, showing up raw and real and imperfect online feels like walking into traffic naked. You don't need more content calendars. You need a nervous system you can trust. And visibility isn't about volume, okay? It's about regulation. So when I say you're not feeling safe enough to stay visible online because you've been masking for so long, this is what it looks like, okay? I want to give you some examples of what this looks like in real life. So managing shrinking and masking, right? This is me maybe apologizing for saying something that offended someone, right? I was trying to be empathetic or I was trying to shrink myself for them. Maybe I had an amazing idea and someone took it offensively, like their idea wasn't good enough. And I had to explain to them, I'm sorry, my brain just comes up with all these ideas. I didn't mean to offend you. Your idea was great, but I'm just coming up with ideas, right? This is what it looked like for me, shrinking. So in corporate, I had a lot of ideas, okay? A lot of ideas. And I mean, I'm going to boast myself here a little bit, but 9 times out of 10, my ideas were awesome. All right. That's how my brain works. I see things other people can't see. I see holes and gaps that other people can't see. That's my gift. And rather than coworkers or bosses, and this isn't just one job, this is many jobs, taking advantage of that, they would look at it as a threat, right? They would look at it as a threat. If someone 3 levels down had a better idea than them, their own insecurities would project on me. And the reason we couldn't use my idea, it wasn't theirs. Or even fucking worse, they would steal my ideas, take credit for my ideas, rather than lift me up and empower me and say, run with this, make this awesome. It was like, oh, no, we can't do that. And there was every reason in the world. And so a lot of your avoidance strategy comes from, that fear of being seen. And so if you've been masking your entire life, trying to kind of hide in the shadows, not be seen, because every time you were seen, you were shut down or you were told to be smaller or you're too loud or you're not paying attention because you're daydreaming because you're bored as shit, right? If you've been told those things in school or at a job, of course, you're bringing that into your business because you're searching for permission to be creative. You're searching for permission to be ADHD. Doesn't that sound absolutely ridiculous now that it comes out of my mouth? You're searching for permission to be ADHD. And it's just wild to me, but it's my lived experience. So your nervous system isn't broken. It's just exhausted from trying to keep you safe in a world that keeps asking you to mask who you are. All right. And here's where everything changes. I'm going to give you some tactical tips. Here's where everything changed for me. So when I stopped waiting for the perfect post, okay, if it was 80% ready, it was going live. I got momentum building, right? I could have spent another 4 hours in Canva rearranging my fonts, even though I've had the same exact fonts since I built a brand kit in 2022. I would still overthink it every damn time. And so if it was 80% ready, it was done. It was going live. And when I started adopting that, and that's hard, it is so hard. It is so hard. I posted a reel this morning and I usually don't post the same day. I usually batch my content, but I was feeling called to share something. I refilmed that reel 4 times. I know. I didn't even follow my own rule. And I had a ton of extra time this morning. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to do it one more time. I'm just going to do it one more time. But I have got to live by the rule 80% ready. It's going live. Same thing with actually going live. So for the first 2 years of my business, I went live every Wednesday for an hour. Okay. And I stopped that this year because my energy doesn't have the capacity for me to be the best coach in my programs and the best, most free value person out there. And so the truth is 99.9% of people that watch my trainings every week never actually fucking did anything with it because people don't value that free information. So I stopped it. I cut it out this year. And a lot of people have been pissed about it, but My nervous system is not. But I would sit down and I would say, okay, what was I going to talk about? And there were so many times that I was ready to just cancel it, right? I was about to freeze. And I'm pretty good on the fly. I'm not going to lie. I'm pretty good on the fly. But I had to say, if I'm 80%, I'm ready. Clicking live. There were so many times I clicked live and I was still picking my nose. I'm not even joking with you. Okay. It's just, you've got to get past that. You've got to understand. Once you understand it's your nervous system lying to you, it gets a lot easier. All right. The second thing is visibility without performance. So I've separated showing up from proving anything. I could be seen even when I was messy, tired, or unsure. Let me explain this to you. I am not the girl that puts on makeup every day. Matter of fact, if you're watching one of the real clips from this episode, I don't even have eyelashes on right now because I haven't had time to go get them redone. Like, if you're wondering why I look different, there's no eyelashes. But I hate makeup. I hate makeup. My skin is super sensitive. Please don't come in my DMs trying to sell me sensitive, friendly makeup. Okay. I got them all. I don't feel the need to spend 30 minutes a day putting it on. Nope, please don't send me your 5-minute tips on good looks. I don't want it. Okay, I'm not going to use it. But that being said, girl, keep pushing that makeup. My point is, I hate makeup. All right. I like to wear the same thing or the same color or a t-shirt with my logo on it every day. It removes decision fatigue for me. It's so easy for me just to wear one of my logo t-shirts and a pair of pants. Boom. I often wear a hat, and that is not necessarily because I don't like doing my hair. My hair is actually pretty decent. So if I blow dry it, I'm good. But about a year ago, I developed alopecia from stress. And so my hair started thinning. And rather than saying I can't show up online anymore because my hair's thinning, I bought a bunch of fucking hats. Okay. So my point is, stop putting you showing up with proving something. Building connection, building trust is just as important as you trying to prove something to someone. I can't tell you how many times I've actually shown up online and I didn't even have bra on. Do I do that to be trashy? No. Could you tell? Probably not. But it's just because I told myself I was going to do something. I was going to show up. I was going to make that reel. I was going to make that TikTok. And I did not allow anything else to be an excuse. If I had the energy and the capacity to do it right then and there, boom, it's getting filmed without a bra on. I did my very best to stay chest up. All right. So my point is, when you tell yourself you're going to do something, every time you don't do it, you believe in your inconsistencies. You are validating your ADHD inconsistencies by lying to yourself, by not holding promises to yourself. And so separate that. Okay. You don't have to prove anything to anyone. That's the beautiful thing about being an entrepreneur. Unless you have investors, you might have some prove it to do. But for most of us, you don't owe anyone any explanation. You have to get comfortable with that. All right. Number 3. So before posting, I started to kind of regulate myself, like a deep breath, get up, take a walk to the bathroom and back, almost like a permission slip. Because what happens when you put that pressure on yourself, you sit down to film that reel or film that TikTok or film that podcast episode, and you start over analyzing as you're actually speaking or as you're actually filming. And that energy, and I work well under pressure, but that type of pressure, it really dysregulates you. If you're already thinking while you're filming, how many people are going to like this? Or I don't even know why I'm filming this. No one's going to like it. No one's going to comment. This isn't going to bring sales. This isn't going to bring leads. Of course, you're not bringing your best energy forward in that content. So you're already giving yourself a permission slip out when you should be giving yourself a permission slip to move forward, right? So even if it is as simple as putting a sticky note on your desk that says, even if nobody likes this, I'm still enough. Whatever you need to tell yourself, but 99.9% of your content problems, your posting problems, is confidence. So when you start making small shifts, that's when you're going to see massive results. Okay. So Inside Focused and Free, my membership, that's exactly what we work on. I don't just teach you how to post. I teach you about rebuilding your business so that visibility feels like breathing, not like battling. Because if you're tired of ghosting your audience or second guessing every word or holding your breath every time you hit publish, it's a dysregulation in your nervous system. And it could be a lot of different things. And that's what I help you do in there is I help you kind of dissect what it is. Are you fearful of showing up 100% you? Are you masking online instead of in real life now? Is it that you feel disaligned with what you've been doing, but now you're worried about pivoting because you are worried you're going to prove to yourself that you're inconsistent, like you've always been told, or you're flaky, or you're ghosting, right? So this is really where it's all about being plugged in to your nervous system. And the same goes for when you need to take a rest. The same goes for when you need to go all in. The same goes for when you have that really hard pull or tug telling you to do something, even though the odds are stacked against you. All the information about the Focused and Free membership inside the show notes, or of course you can DM me the word focused on IG and I'm happy to chat with you about it. But your brilliance was never meant to be hidden. It was meant to be felt. You know your zone of genius. You just need to get your nervous system on the same page. And that doesn't happen when you let it shut down every time you try to show up vulnerable. So being confident, being audacious without being aggressive, right? Visibility is scary, but it's important for you to understand that vulnerability does equal visibility. And so until you are vulnerable enough to be 100% you and you're confident in who you are, visibility is going to always feel like a challenge. So if this resonated with you at all, I would love for you to take a screenshot of it, throw it in your stories, tag me. I'd love to share you with my audience. If you got any specific takeaway from this, shoot me a DM on IG. I would love to hear. Shoot me a voice memo. Tell me what, really stuck out to you, what you can relate to most. And of course, I have tons of resources in the show notes for you, but this is your sign. If you are really struggling with how to show up 100% authentically you as your ADHD self online, I want to see you in the membership, because that is exactly where we build momentum for your business every day. And that's what's lacking right now is momentum. When you have momentum in your business, you're 100% more confident. You're going to show up more confident, and the sales come from the confidence. There are people a lot less qualified than you that are making a lot more sales than you because they're showing up confidently talking about something they probably know absolutely nothing about. So until next time, make it simple, make it social, and make it awesome. See you soon.